A new Khamenei has just taken charge as the new supreme leader of Iran. Is this an opportunity to end the war, or is this simply a death warrant 11 days into total bloodshed in the Middle East? I have with me live in a short while from now an Apache combat pilot to talk us through some of the most incredible footage coming out of the United Arab Emirates of frontline helicopters and fighter aircraft in full public view of Dubai and Abu Dhabi and other big cities hunting drones. It's the most mesmerizing intersection of war and combat in an urban setting. And I'm going to show you that. And Trump has crushed Iran for 11 days and counting. But is he losing the perception and narrative war? It's very important to the United States. All of that and much more coming up tonight on India Matters. Let's begin with our lead story. Trump wanted decapitation. 11 days later, what he has got in Iran is recapitation. The dead supreme leader's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, has just been anointed as Iran's new supreme leader, and rather than signaling command chaos in the war-torn country, it has ended up signaling something more inconvenient perhaps for Trump: continuity in Iran. Now, the central dilemma has crystallized with clarity. Remember, the 2-week mark of this war is just ahead. Does Trump's military target and now kill Mojtaba Khamenei as well? If he does he risk galvanizing Iran further, turning this into a blood dynasty narrative that unites the country against Trump in ways his bombs have not yet managed? If Trump doesn't kill Mojtaba, he is tacitly conceding that killing the first Khamenei, Mojtaba's father, has achieved nothing, that the regime is a hydra, and that his defining act of aggression in the opening days of epic fury was basically just strategic. It was strategically hollow. Now, Israel has already made clear that any new supreme leader or Khamenei carries a target on his back. This is a post that came out from the Foreign Ministry of Israel just a couple of hours ago. Trump's closest advisors are pushing him hard, arguing he cannot blink, cannot dither, must be as decisive with the son as he was with the father. But the logical end point of that argument is a very haunting one, viewer. How many supreme leaders in Iran do you kill before you admit the strategy potentially isn't yielding what you really want, which is regime change? And so Mojtaba Khamenei, the new supreme leader of Iran, wakes up as arguably the most hunted human being on the planet right now, inheriting a war, a bombed and battered nation. The question now is whether he also inherits an opportunity. He may be hunted, there may be a target painted on his back, but he also inherits an opportunity. Can he find some kind of an off-ramp that ends this entire war? Because we know that Trump also wants that. Or will he never be given that chance? Take a look at what President Trump said today in his latest press conference when asked directly about the new supreme leader of Iran.
Have to take him out. Does he have a target on his back?
You mean the new supreme leader? You mean the son?
How can there be in Iran?
Well,
with
I don't
Ayatollah?
want to say that, but I was disappointed because we think it's going to lead to just more of the same problem for the country. So I was disappointed to see their choice.
Disappointed is the word used by President Trump when he was asked about Mojtaba, and he says in a kind of rueful tone that it's going to be more of the same in the country. Is he conceding that 11 days of combat haven't forced regime change, haven't forced Iran's people to rise up against the regime, haven't forced the people of Iran to overthrow the supreme leader system in that country and take ownership of their country as Trump had invited them to do in the opening days of the war? We're going to ask that question in just a moment, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Mojtaba. But first, watch this report about who this man is. He's lost his father, the Khamenei, his mother, his sister as well, many other members of his family, and he is the new supreme leader of Iran.
Born in 1969 in the holy city of Mashhad, Mojtaba Khamenei grew up during the turmoil of the Iranian Revolution. His father, Ali Khamenei, was among the clerics opposing the Shah's rule. During those years, the family home was repeatedly raided by the Shah's feared intelligence agency. As a teenager, Mojtaba witnessed the upheaval that reshaped Iran. And when the Iran-Iraq war broke out, he volunteered for the front line at just 17. In the decades that followed, Mojtaba Khamenei rarely held any official government position. He never contested elections, never served as a minister. Yet, he was widely seen as a powerful figure inside the system. Working inside his father's office, Mojtaba acted as a trusted advisor and gatekeeper, controlling access to the supreme leader and influencing key decisions. He also built strong links with Iran's powerful security institutions, including the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Basij militia. In 2019, the United States imposed sanctions on Mojtaba Khamenei, accusing him of working informally on behalf of his father on regional matters and suppressing domestic protests. He was also known for backing hardline political factions, including support for former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad during the 2005 and 2009 elections. Despite his influence over political, security and religious institutions, Mojtaba Khamenei remained largely out of the public eye. His appointment as supreme leader now marks a major consolidation of power. Even before the announcement, Donald Trump and Israeli leaders had signaled opposition to his leadership. But Tehran's decision suggests the Islamic Republic is prepared to defy pressure from the United States and Israel. At 56, Mojtaba Khamenei becomes the Islamic Republic's third supreme leader, taking on the role 6 years older than his father was when he first assumed the position. But after years as a shadow power broker, the man long known for wielding influence behind the scenes is now stepping into the spotlight. NDTV Bureau Report.
So Mojtaba Khamenei is the new supreme leader of Iran. This is what has happened in the last 11 days of epic fury. His father is Sayyid Ali Khamenei, the earlier supreme leader of Iran, until his death on the 28th of February during the opening hours of the American assault. He was killed during the Israeli airstrikes on that particular day, early in the morning. The death was confirmed by US President Donald Trump, first family member to be killed in war. Then you have Manzoor Khojaste Baghirzadeh Mojtaba's mother, that's her in that picture, also reportedly killed in the bombardment of Iranian targets. The source of this is, of course, Iranian media reports. There has been no categorical information about this. Zahra Haddad Adel is the wife of Mojtaba Khamenei, confirmed to have been killed in the airstrikes. Mojtaba Khamenei's son, one of Mojtaba's two sons, was killed on one of the days during the Israeli-US strikes, identity not publicly confirmed. So one of his sons, his wife, his mother and his father have been killed in the strike so far, and he is now the supreme leader. So this is the Mojtaba Khamenei moment in Iran. How long it lasts is the big question. But what it does signal is continuity, at least for the moment, because one Khamenei replaces another. Son replaces father. It's the supreme leadership dynasty of Iran. He is the new supreme leader, but it is almost certain that he has a target on his back. The suspense is whether he will survive. We already hear reports that he's been injured in some of the strikes, but will he survive, or are his days numbered? Israel says already that we will hunt the new leader of Iran. We will not allow any new Khamenei. Trump says he's disappointed, unhappy with the new leader selection, indicating that he wanted to be part of the selection process, however that would work. Iran, in some ways, has rallied behind this new supreme leader because 11 days of war have, in some ways, galvanized the people of that country being bombarded around somebody who they perhaps, at an organic level, may not have naturally supported. But remember that Mojtaba Khamenei is not some liberal messiah. He is a hardliner, and he is someone who is the supreme leader now. But will he be looking also for some kind of an exit ramp Does him becoming supreme leader offer an opportunity for some kind of an end to this war? Are the big questions I'm asking tonight. Joining me live to talk about Mojtaba Khamenei, what lies ahead for him, whether his days are numbered or could he present some kind of an opportunity for an off-ramp after nearly 2 weeks of warfare. Joining me live, Daniel Markey is a senior fellow at the Stimson Center and a senior research professor at Johns Hopkins University. Mr. Markey, thank you very much for your time. Stephen Bell is officer at Stop the War Coalition in London. Welcome, Stephen. Yusuf Jalali is NDTV's correspondent in Iran, and Aditya Raj Kaul is our senior executive editor who's been reporting for the last couple of weeks from Israel. I'm going to go to my colleagues in just a moment, but Yusuf, I'd like to kick it off with you because you're in Iran, you're in Tehran. Mojtaba Khamenei is the new supreme leader. You've heard what Trump had to say about him today. Israel has made it very clear that they're going to go after him. From Tehran, Yusuf, what is your sense about what happens to Mojtaba Khamenei? He's just spent his first day as the new supreme leader. Does he have a target on his back? Is he hunted? Or does he present some kind of an opportunity?
Well, of course, Mojtaba Khamenei is very much symbolic. His character, his name carries the name of his father, his facial resemblance to the late Ayatollah, and everything about him signals continuity of the Islamic Republic. If you look at people's reaction to his election, everybody was rejoicing and has been rejoicing. You can see people taking to the streets in Tehran, in different major towns and cities across the country. They've been celebrating this moment. These are the people that are supporters and followers of the Islamic Republic. They've been taken to the streets holding portraits of Mojtaba beside the portrait of the late Ayatollah, saying that Khamenei is still there, because the chants that have been, of course, these slogans that have been chanted in the past like weeks and months and even during the war was chants that name Khamenei as the supreme leader, right? And now you see that a new Khamenei has emerged, and people are now saying that people have this religious belief that this is a show and a sign, a divine sign that the Islamic Republic, because the Islamic Republic is based on religious beliefs.
Yeah.
Now they're saying that this is a divine sign that shows the resilience of a divine and Islamic establishment.
Okay.
Ayatollah Khamenei, the late Ayatollah, is gone, and now a younger Ayatollah Khamenei has emerged. And in the eyes of the public, Mojtaba is a person who is a very much strong person, very much popular by the IRGC, which has a very major say in choosing any Iranian leader. He has very close ties to the IRGC, and he commands a major following base among the public. So he has both sides of the spectrum, the public and the IRGC. So we're expecting that Mojtaba is going to be a strong leader based on what we're seeing and his background.
Okay, so his popularity and his acceptability within an Iran that continues to be bombed, and Professor Markey, I'll bring that to you. Does that suggest to you that he could be even more of a target, or does he present an opportunity? Because 2 weeks into this war, one would believe that all sides are looking for some kind of an off-ramp. Professor Markey, welcome.
Thank you. I would say more target than opportunity because of the point that has already been made, that it's more a signal of continuity than change. There's no evidence that this new Iranian leader is any more eager to accept the kind of deals that Washington, the Trump administration was putting on the table than his father was. And the Trump administration, for its part, has already signaled something of a mixed message, that the war is moving along, as he said, faster than expected, and that they've achieved great things. But on the other hand, to the other side of the president's mouth, and certainly from some of his top advisors, are suggesting that much remains to be done, and that the fighting will continue, probably for days, or at least days, possibly weeks. And they're bringing new forces into the region, including air defense systems, presumably in anticipation of continuing Iranian reprisals. So all signs to me point to him being a target, and you're absolutely right. The Israelis have made no bones about it. They plan to go after him just like they went after his father. So that's how I tend to see it.
Okay, Aditya, and absolutely, I wanted to refer to the tweet that we've got on our screen right now, because the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which Aditya has been reporting from Tel Aviv, it makes it very, very clear where Israel stands. The United States was still a little vague today. Even Trump was a little vague. He wasn't aggressive and on the front foot, and he didn't say anything bloodthirsty as such. But Israel has put out a picture literally of the two Khamenei's, father and son, with blood on their hands, signaling that they're not going to spare him. Aditya, what are you hearing? Israel, are they going to be looking to take out Mojtaba as well?
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind, Shiv, that is what Israel has decided. And that's the road that they are going to take. Shiv, what is different from the 12-day war that happened in June last year was that United States is completely on the table. They may not, on the face of it, say any bloodthirsty language, etc., coming in from Donald Trump. But one thing is very clear, that the Iranian regime cannot continue. And no matter how much of pounding we see in Tehran and any kind of continuity or messages from Larijani and others coming in, one thing is amply clear. They're going to go after the Iranian regime and the Ayatollahs. When I spoke to the foreign minister and also the foreign policy advisor of Netanyahu, they confirmed to me that they will not let the Ayatollahs survive. They were very blunt in their message that the seat of Ayatollah cannot be there in any future power or government in Iran. So what we are witnessing right now is that Israel is going full frontal attack against Iran.
Yeah.
And I think they're also seeing this as a historic opportunity. And that's why they're calling out for the people also, that they're creating such circumstances that there is some kind of a democratic transition. But the kind of attacks that have come in from the Iranian side also have stunned Washington, D.C. and Jerusalem as well. So that's why it is perhaps a long haul that we are looking at.
It's true, because what Aditya is saying is reflected in the reality of the Israeli Air Force announcing a couple of hours ago before this broadcast as well, that a fresh wave of attacks has begun in Tehran, and who knows whether that targets this new leadership. We won't know until later, but those are things that are very much on the table, and Israel has made it clear. Stephen Bell, target or an opportunity? Professor Markey says very much a target, not much an opportunity, because there is no qualitative difference between this Khamenei and his father.
For the Iranian people, this is clearly an existential struggle.
Yeah.
The key achievement of the 1979 revolution was, for the first time in the history of modern Iran, they had a state genuinely independent of foreign powers. And obviously the offensive now is to overturn that. The US has never reconciled itself to the loss of what was its part of its twin pillars, along with Saudi Arabia, in the region. And what Trump is continuing to do is to implement that policy. There's no doubt that the Iranian people will assert their national sovereignty in supporting the succession. And there's no doubt that the phenomena that we saw in June, when the national feelings of the Iranians asserted themselves amongst the population at large, is now asserting itself. Remember, these are people who sustained 8 years of war against Iraq, which was armed and supported by the United States and most Western governments. So those people who believe that there will be a quick solution are going to be extremely disappointed.
Yusuf, are there any conversations of any kind happening between Khamenei and the outside world right now? Obviously, they are not happening directly with the United States, but we do know that Trump dialed Putin yesterday. Russia is seen as a country that has channels open with both these countries. Is there any kind of a conversation happening, or is this just a situation where Khamenei has taken over? there's defiance, and there is nothing else. There must be some level of pragmatism that may have kicked in after 11 days of war, given the situation has completely changed from February 28th. Yusuf?
Well, of course, everybody is waiting for Mojtaba to appear at least on state television to deliver a speech, statement, even written statement from him. So the whereabouts of him, and of course his health condition, because we heard from state television the moment they announced him as the successor, they said that he has sustained injuries. And many are saying that these injuries came from the same attack that killed his father.
Yeah.
Of course, for now, we're not sure about his health condition. We're not sure about his whereabouts, and nobody's commenting on that. But of course, if he's leading right now at the moment, the way Iran is continuing this confrontation with the United States, it seems that there have been some signs on the battlefield suggesting that he is indeed leading, because we saw a turn in how Iran strikes back. We saw the use of more capable missiles being launched towards the Israeli territories and even U.S. bases in the region.
Yeah.
Iran is now using more capable missiles. 10 ballistic missiles were fired in the 33rd wave of what Iran calls Operation True Promise 4. That's the operation Iran has been conducting, the launching of those barrages of missiles towards the Israeli territories. So Iran has been using Khaybar Shikan 4, Khorram Shah 4. These are the missiles that are hypersonic, ballistic, and with a warhead exceeding 1.5 tons. So I think on the battlefield, we can see a sign of him leading right now, because many have been expecting his leadership to be more confrontational towards Israel and the United States, and no sign of backing down from Iran.
That's an important point. And Professor Makki, I'll bring that to you, because Yusuf says that the new leadership is reflected in some of the military actions that are being taken by Iran. It is true that they're using weapons. Just a couple of hours ago, they struck using a drone at the Rawais refinery complex in the United Arab Emirates as well. But the question I have now for you, Professor Makki, is a little different, because Trump's sort of intentions in this combat have drifted between regime change to wanting total surrender, to wanting to be part of the process that selects the new leadership, to keeping the field open for the people of Iran to organically rise up and take what's theirs. So, that's all become a little vague. And 11 days later, one doesn't quite know what the end game from Trump's perspective is. Can you throw some light on that in view of this new leader in Iran, Professor Makki?
Honestly, I wish that I could. President Trump has not been terribly clear, not just with the rest of the world, but with the American public as well. And there is concern, and I think increasing concern here in the United States based on rising fuel prices that we're facing. Not nearly so bad as some other countries in the world, but definitely it's noticeable at the gas pump, and that has direct political implications here. It's widely understood that that's unpopular. It also has problems for Trump with respect to his own Republican base, which is widely believed to be split on the issue of this war. It's not entirely clear that even the entire Republican Party is very supportive of this war. And polls suggest that the war is basically unpopular with the American people in a way that other wars, at least at the outset, including the war in Afghanistan, earlier war in Iraq, were actually quite popular, at least when they started. So Trump faces some headwinds, and he has been unclear. If I were to best guess what he'd be willing to accept as an outcome in this war, it would be an Iran that was willing to come back to the table and make serious concessions on the very issues that they were negotiating before the war started, that is, their nuclear program, and beyond that, their ballistic missile program. This government, this regime, this new leadership in Iran shows no evidence of being willing to negotiate on that. So I think he's stuck continuing to fight until he gets a different Iranian leadership in place. And who knows how long that will take. But beyond that, I think Trump hasn't been as firm about regime change per se, and has actually been clearer about his desire to keep U.S. ground forces out of Iran.
Yes.
So there are some limitations there, and possibly some daylight between where Washington is and where Jerusalem, Tel Aviv is on these issues, because the Israelis seem, I think, even further inclined to push for the destruction of the capacity of the Iranian state.
Correct.
Than Washington absolutely needs.
Yeah, and Aditya can throw some light on that. You know, there have been reports, Aditya, that there have been some divergences in terms of the actions that have been taken, notably the attack on the, in the oil depot in Tehran, which created that enormous, smoke plume that became one of the defining images of this war. Israel is in many ways much clearer about what it wants to do. It's been much more on the front foot, more aggressive, and it has a more well-defined kind of sense of what it wants to achieve, and that appears to be to just step up the military aggression as much as possible and subdue Iran into doing what it wants.
That's right. Shiv, one thing is very clear. Israel wants to annihilate and completely eradicate the Iranian regime, and that means the Ayatollahs. So they don't want the hardliners to really continue in any way. Last time when the 12-day war happened, that was the objective as well. But the intelligence assessment of Mossad at that particular time was that the Iranian regime change is simply not possible. There's no substitute democratic leader down on ground, and things haven't changed even today. They might have convinced Trump, they might have convinced the US security establishment and the intelligence community there, but the reality remains the same. There is no democratic transition possible until there is a democratic leader. Like Lapid told you, there's no Gandhian Iranian who is coming across and leading the movement, the democratic movement. But one thing that I can tell you that has happened in the last 24 hours, Mossad is now sending telegram messages to some of the civilians out there.
Okay, crucial point that Aditya was making about Mossad operations and sending out messages to people inside Iran. Very much part of what's going on. But Stephen Bell, I'll come to you for one final question. It all boils down to how long more this is going to last. There are analysts who say it boils down to markets and munitions. The markets have spoken. They kind of sank yesterday. They've rebounded today. The oil shock of yesterday has kind of stabilized as well. Both sides say, munitions are not a problem. Iran has also demonstrated that it still has the capability to, to fire long-range weapons, even though the frequency of those firings has significantly gone down. What's your best guess on, where this ends in terms of what the limiting factors are going to be?
I think the limiting factor as far as the United States goes is in large part domestic public opinion.
Yeah.
As Daniel indicated, this is an unpopular war. I would say it's also an unpopular war in Britain, where 60% of the public are against this. And I think the fact that for the Iranians, this is not some campaign. This is a life and death question, literally, and whether they will be in control of their own country or not, or whether they will face a future comparable to Libya. And in those circumstances, it is sufficient for them to survive in order to win. Whereas for Trump, who has made it explicit, he favors regime change, which incidentally is not the position of the E3 governments, but he favors regime change, and anything less than regime change now, certainly after he said that he disapproves of the Mojtaba Khamenei's appointment, would appear to be a setback for him. So I think that it is domestic opposition and international opposition, because this is a completely unprovoked war outside of the framework of the UN Charter, and unfortunately is an expression of the post-Gaza reality, where the United States foreign policy doesn't even pretend to adhere to international law. And in these circumstances, we are dependent upon a wider community expressing some restraint upon the United States government.
The 2-week mark in this war is looming right ahead of us in just a couple of days. Many of those questions hopefully will have some answers. There's very little clarity about where this is really headed, and all we can really do is ask the questions and perhaps at best speculate. Professor Markey, Stephen Bell, Yusuf and Aditya, thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with me here tonight. on India Matters. Thank you.